blockchain space. She's also the founder and CEO of Femtech. She's a frequent speaker in Canada and abroad. And she's also managing audience partnerships and special projects for Consensus 2025. So there's a little giveaway attached to that. Ashley, how are you doing today?
Hey Flo, can you hear me okay?
We hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just doing the the typical Canadian weather update. We had 10 degrees in Montreal yesterday, so that's good news. That's We're going in the right direction. How are you?
We sure are. I'm just happy that we're getting some real sunshine.
Oh my God.
Finally. So it is good. There's hope.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, well, look, thanks for joining us. We're going to start in a couple of seconds. Just reminding everyone that we're going to be doing a consensus giveaway announcement at the end of this call. So make sure to stay. You'll be the first to hear about it. Like I said, it's a big one. Very, very excited to be doing this. And already thanks to Ashley and to Consensus, but we'll share more details at the end. And for a reminder, this is an interactive conversation. I'm going to be basically interviewing Ashley right now, asking her for her thoughts on the state of the current market. What are the key factors? What are maybe some of her projections, if she wants to share some, and also some of her advice, because she is, as I said, a coach, an educator. So I think you're going to get some great value from this episode. If you want to join in, ask a question, just raise your hand. You know how it works. But otherwise, we're going to get through quite a few questions today. And yeah, we hope you enjoy. So, Ashley, let's get right into it. It's fair to say that the crypto market has been very volatile lately. And I was just saying before you got on that we were kind of saying, oh, crypto is going to get less volatile. We've got strategic reserves being set up right now. We've got a lot of adoption, especially institutional. What's going on right now? Why did we see a drop of 25% from the recent highs of about 108, 109 to all the way down to 77, I think I saw a week ago? How do you explain that, broadly speaking?
Yeah, really great question. And first off, I want to first say that there's a lot of fear in the market right now, and for those that have been in the space for a while, that have experienced quite a few bull market and bear markets, of course, this is something that we are not too nervous about, to be honest with you,
Mm,
and are actually happy about. Right, this is a really great opportunity, but at the same time, there has been so much going on, and the industry is still very heavily impacted by the economy and politics as well. And, yes, the market for crypto has gone down quite a bit, but also traditional markets, stocks and so forth have also been impacted, right? I feel like
yeah.
there's this idea around the fact that when crypto drops, it's like, the end of the world, but realistically, it's not the only industry that has been impacted, right?
Mm,
And so, thinking about what this looks like, and of course, thinking about, how we can take advantage of these opportunities of the market dropping the way that it has, there are a really quite a few great ways to do that, and I know we can dive into that as well. But there's just so much going on across the board when it comes to the economy. Politics is a whole other conversation that I'm not going to dive too heavily on. But there is quite a bit that's happening, and at the same time, this is still a very healthy, some healthy movement that we're seeing, especially looking at how much growth Bitcoin had, and how fast that growth really, took off. It's
yeah.
really kind of nice to see that we are having this pullback. To be honest with you, because when we see Bitcoin going up drastically, that's when I tend to get a little bit nervous. When we don't have that pullback as well.
Yeah, because of course it is also healthy to remind ourselves that just before Trump's election, so we're talking, let's say October, we were sitting at around, sub 70, let's say 67, 68, and now we're at 80. So I mean, when in doubt, zoom out, I suppose, right? I mean, are you able to pinpoint one factor that you think is the main reason? Is it the trade war, frankly, that we're experiencing right now? Is it that fear that makes people a little bit hesitant because, of course, crypto is still a risk-on asset, and like you said, of course, the whole market is down. But is that the main reason?
Yeah, that's definitely probably one of the biggest ones. I think Um, a lot of the decisions that were made um, when it comes to the tariffs and so forth has really impacted a lot of places. Of course, us based here in Canada, it's a huge impact, right? But even across the globe, right? China and some of these other places that are really taking a stance um, against this, and
Yeah.
a lot of it is really big for all of us, right? And so unfortunately, I don't think this is something that is going to be resolved overnight, right? We might spend a bit of time around these price points and so forth, but there is just so much going on across the board where it is a really crucial time for those that are looking to get involved in the market, but also for us, living through and actually experiencing some of the um, consequences of all of this, right? Outside of just the crypto investing side of things, it's like this is really impacting us on a personal level, right, across the board too.
You mean even emotionally? You mean that, I mean, obviously there's a lot of angst, like you said, especially in Canada right now, perhaps as well in Europe and maybe even in China. I don't know that specifically. But is that what you mean? That it's just yeah, taking its toll on people perhaps that, haven't seen those fluctuations over the last years like many of us on this call already have.
Exactly. That's 100% right. And like I said, even for someone like myself, where I think this is what I've been in the industry for 8 years now, seen a lot of movement, but I will definitely say like it's part of it. It's definitely part of it. But it's always hard to say, what things will look like in terms of how much time will be spent, especially when it comes to these type of dips that we're seeing. But at the same time, kind of on the flip side, it's actually really healthy, and I'm excited to be able to dive into the charts a little bit too. For those that do follow a lot of the content that I have, or those that work closely with me, know that I'm always on the charts, looking at this. And realistically, one thing I'll say, and this goes to my traders as well that are on the call, but
Hmm.
one thing that we can say, especially with Bitcoin, is even though it is very volatile and makes movements that are fairly drastic, there's still a pattern to how it moves, right? And so even if we start to look at, I think the last time we were at these price points was, I think it was November of last year.
Hmm.
When we even start looking at the chart, we actually can see that we've dropped into this what we call 50% 618 zone, which is still very healthy, right? We have that 50% retracement in terms of the movement of the market. And typically, what we tend to see with Bitcoin, especially in a healthy market, will have these huge moves, sometimes even making new all-time highs, and then we tend to drop back down into this price point or into the zone rather, before we start to move back again. Now, um, you know, there's times where sometimes if there is additional things that happen in the economy or politics, we could see it drop a little bit lower, right? Which,
Hmm.
like you said, we did drop, below that 80K mark for sure. But at the same time, right now, as it stands, it's still a really great, healthy price point to be at.
Yeah, yeah, because like those retracements or those corrections or those kind of back to the mean events, I mean, they are extremely common. I mean, I was just looking at the charts the other day, and I'm not a chart analyst, but just kind of, with my, I guess, with my naked eye, it is very obvious when you look at the previous bull markets that there have been these 20, 30% drops multiple times in each bull market, right? So it's actually completely normal, very, very yeah, just completely normal, right? It happens every time. Am I correct?
It does. It definitely does. This, like I said, this is a pattern. This is not anything unique, right? When it comes to Bitcoin, right? I think it was back in 2021 where we first saw like Bitcoin hit that like 19K mark for the first time. This was at a place where we Bitcoin was going from like 7,000, $7 to $10,000 and moved all the way up to 19K, right? And right after that, it then dropped significantly down to like $6,000, right? At that
Yeah.
time, people had a similar sentiment where they thought Bitcoin was over, it's all a bubble, and the whole all of that they always say. But right after that, that's where we saw Bitcoin hit some of these amazing, amazing numbers, right? Hitting over $50,000. So we tend to see those drastic movements, but like I said, a lot of it is still really repetitive. And that's why I'm a big advocate for those that are investors. You want to learn um, how to read and understand the charts. Not saying you have to be a trader, but it also helps you to become a better investor because now you can identify some of those key areas or price points to get better entries or better exits as well.
Yeah, I was thinking entry point, and you said entry. Yeah, that's the right word. That's great. Look, I just want to shout out a couple of people who have joined us in the room. Kate Withers with Functionland, who I just saw and interviewed last Thursday at the CBC. Great to have you, Kate. Striking, I thought it was striking balls before, but anyway, a good friend as well. Nice to have you there. Beardo is there. Got a chance to meet Beardo in person. Jeff Wagger at the CBC, which was really, really awesome. Digan Jababa is with us. I see Chris from Corium Concepts. Great to have you very regularly. Fib from Super Team Canada. That's the Solana community here in Canada, who I got to bump into at the CDC event as well. Yeah, lots of people. Just great to have you all. And if you're new, a warm welcome to you. Just a quick favor: we just pinned a tweet, an announcement for this space here in the space. If you can just do us a favor and go and retweet it, we really appreciate that. We want to grow our community, and because we have a giveaway, we want to give a chance to as many people as possible to participate. So very much appreciate your help with that. Um, Ashley, I'm curious. Why, it seems at least, why has Ethereum been hammered perhaps more than others? Generally, I would say altcoins are always affected more than Bitcoin. Correct me if I'm wrong, but could you maybe help us understand a bit some of the nuances between how Bitcoin was impacted versus Ethereum versus other alts and maybe even meme coins? Are there distinctions, or am I hallucinating?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question for sure. And there's been a lot of conversation about this, and some people are for it, some people are against it. Of course, earlier this year, a lot of people actually lost quite a bit of faith in Ethereum, right? We saw so many innovations with some of the different blockchains that have really just been taking off, right? Of course, Solana being one of them, where a
Hmm.
lot of them are really solving some of those key issues that Ethereum unfortunately still has. And the adoption, especially on a development level and ecosystem level, where a lot of people, when they're looking to build, have shifted quite a bit from Ethereum to some of the other networks, right? That are just a little bit more efficient. Of course, cheaper is the biggest piece as well.
Yeah,
And so some people are feeling like they're losing a bit of their traction in regards to that ecosystem and looking at other opportunities that can be a little bit more beneficial. Now, at the same time, I think I've always been a huge advocate for Ethereum, and I probably should have said this at the beginning of the call as well. But nothing that we say is financial advice.
for sure.
I'm not a financial advisor, so everyone, please do your own research. But essentially, looking at this, I've always been a big advocate for Ethereum, because at the end of the day, still as it stands, right, Ethereum is still one of the top networks, right, and a lot of infrastructure has been built on it, right. So it's a bit back and forth in terms of the sentiment that we're seeing here.
Yeah,
I think we still have quite a bit to go. I still believe that there's a lot of opportunity still when it comes to Ethereum and where it could head. It's still leading, of course, as the number two cryptocurrency in the market. And as we know, things still continue to follow overall a lot of the movement that Bitcoin does. But at the same time, because of the growth of some of these other markets or ecosystems, it has pulled a bit away from some of the growth that Ethereum has had over the past several years, right? So it'll be interesting to see how things kind of pick back up again, or at least when the market overall picks back up, if we will see Ethereum start to gain a bit more of that traction, or if, we're going to continue to see other ecosystems, like I mentioned, Solana, be able to kind of take and continue to take some of that volume that Ethereum's been able to hold on to.
Hmm. I want to put a quote to you since you double tapped on Ethereum. I just remembered it comes from Adam O'Brien, who's the founder and CEO of Bitcoin Well, who's a very clear Bitcoin maxi. So obviously everyone has their bias. But he wrote yesterday, it's inevitable that Ethereum drops below 1600 simply because it is stuck in a paradox of being too centralized to be safe, yet too decentralized to be scalable. Too centralized to be safe, yet too decentralized to be scalable. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's powerful. It's it's honestly true. I think there's parts of it where at the end of the day, when we look at the different projects and ecosystems, the ones that are the most efficient and to that same point, the most scalable are the ones that are really gonna win,
Right.
right? And that's why we're seeing a lot of these new ecosystems that have really taken off very quickly because they once again they are looking at what are like the projects that are out there, what are they doing wrong, what are the challenges that are facing, and they're just simply building more efficient and like you said more scalable solutions, right? And then because of that, that's where we see a lot of money tend to pour into those projects. We then see a lot of developers when they're looking to build, they're going to build on the platforms that have the most opportunity and that are the most efficient, right? So a lot of those pieces are really starting to shift quite a bit. And so the scaling piece of things, I think, you know, the Ethereum team has, of course, been, doing their best to try to fix and work on
Yeah.
those pieces. Of course, shifting, making that big change, going over to proof of stake as well to try to fix things a little bit. But unfortunately, I don't think that is enough just yet, right?
Hmm.
To really catch up with some of these other ecosystems that are able to just solve a lot of those problems that Ethereum is still facing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Like I said, for me, I'm still trying to be hopeful that maybe they'll be able to come up with something that will help to solve some of those issues they're still facing. um, but once again, like this is kind of goes back to the importance of, at least for my investors listening in, why I'm always so big on diversification. Because if you, especially as an investor, you want to make sure that you are taking advantage of the different opportunities and trends in the market where we have some of these other ecosystems, like I said, that are really just building and scaling at a faster pace as well.
Yeah, yeah, and hedge your bets. I really appreciate you answering this question. I kind of put you on the spot there, but I also appreciate the candid, like, he's a bit right. Basically, there's some truth to what he's saying. And again, we all have our biases, and no one can predict the future. Not financial advice, goes without saying. To everybody who's listening right now, if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hands, jump in. We love it. Ashley is a great sport at taking questions and a real expert as well. So I'm going to just move along. Otherwise, a reminder that we'll be doing a consensus, or we'll be announcing. Let me be honest. We're going to be announcing a very a big consensus giveaway at the end of this call, and we have another announcement to make about future episodes that I'll tell you about in a moment. We actually have some questions. Great, Fawaz Malik, you're next. If we can make sure that his mic is live. I think you're a speaker already. Fawaz, over to you.
Yeah, I do have one question that's pretty interesting right now. Yesterday, a few days ago, Mark Carney made a comment that he was very speculative, suspicious about cryptocurrencies, quote unquote. And I don't know, that doesn't feel like a good optic for Canada right now.
Hmm.
We're supposed to have a national blockchain strategy, which is supposed to be a national one, not like a one party blockchain strategy, but seems like what the sentiments coming out of this new prime minister is that he has a lot of prospects about CBDCs. Now, I don't know what his motive behind CBDCs is, but for now, right now, it's like the comment he has given so far is not really that pro of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. So I don't know how a lot of Canadians are going to wrap their head around this part. So yeah, I just wanted to add that part.
Fawaz, he's a central banker. It's in his title.
Yeah, I know.
he's a he's
Yeah.
a he's a he's a repeat offender central banker. He's a two-time central banker. Anyway, just tongue in cheek here. We're all respect, but yeah, Ashley, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Honestly, I was really hoping that the individual that would be in charge, I guess, would be very for crypto. At the same time, though, and this is actually something that was discussed at the recent CBC events that we
Yeah,
were at, Float,
yeah,
actually, where we were talking about the fact that I think, regardless of who is in that position of power, we are still greatly affected by what happens in the US, right? And so, of course, they in the US are becoming very friendly when it comes to crypto, different regulation and pieces that have been put in place to really help the growth and the adoption of not just consumers, but also traditional institutions to be able to get involved. So I think it's regardless of who's in charge, I think we are still going to have to be um, very careful of how we decide to proceed with this because we're influenced by what they do. And now, unfortunately, if we do not get the support that we're looking for when it comes to crypto, blockchain, and some of the people that are innovating in the space, we're going to see even more Canadians tend to leave, right? To be able to go to those places that provide those opportunities, right? So I'm really hoping with everything that has happened south of the border that we will, essentially will be pressured to make a decision and create those opportunities to provide more flexibility for those who are innovating and for those that want to build in this space. So I'm still very hopeful. And I think we will start to see some type of information or content from them over the next several months now about what that's going to look like. Because I think, they're unfortunately kind of in a position where their back is against the wall because, of course, there's so much movement
in the
where
US.
they're exactly in the US. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting. But I think, regardless, like I said, of who won, I think, that decision is still on the table to be made.
Yeah, true. And I mean, we can't forget progress will happen with or without governments. I mean, it's a technology. It's supposed to be as apolitical as possible. I believe it's been politicized a lot, but and also we have to remind ourselves that even though there's still good hope, I think, from the industry proponents that Pierre Poilievre will win the election, regardless of the, let's say, the narrowing of the gap between the two candidates now. Even if he wins, like, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know how quickly he's going to do. We don't know how, once he's in power, and I mean, they're yeah. Well, politics is is very fickle, so we'll see what happens. But we have another question from Crypto Voyager. I think I've seen you before on Spaces, so welcome back, and please let us know what your question is.
Yeah, hi everyone. I like that one where Ethereum is too centralized and too decentralized. Doesn't that ring true for all of them?
Oh, all of them? You mean all altcoins? I guess.
No, no. Including BTC.
Okay. Wow. Well, Ashley, you got your work cut out.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know if I say all of them. I think obviously there's some more than others. Um, I would also say too, I think the way that Bitcoin, the sentiment around it and the way that it's created, of course, is more about decentralization. But then you have other projects, something like XRP, that is really focused on the centralization of things, right? That's working alongside some of these centralized organizations. So I think it depends on which one specifically. But I think in regards to what we're talking about specifically for Ethereum, that's where we said that there is definitely some truth to that right there for sure.
Okay, nice and simple, short answer. I mean, it's true. I read the other day that there are now millions of cryptos. I don't know if anyone can validate that or if you know that, Ashley. I used to always hear 10,000, 20, 30,000, but the other day I saw pass by that there are millions. I mean, I guess there are many, many, but of course, with that comes many, many shades of gray. But we'll move ahead and talk about kind of the future because yeah, we're already halfway through this call, and I'm very curious, actually, like with all this uncertainty, and for me, it's interesting because I mean, a lot of it, I think, really comes from one person. It comes from Trump. I mean, Trump's support for the industry, especially since his famous speech in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference last summer, and then talks about the strategic reserve, and then the crypto czar, and then all the appointments at the SEC, etc. And of course, most recently the crypto ball, the crypto summit. I mean, that's quite a lot from basically from one person. But then The trade war is perhaps the a real a real downer on all of that, and obviously it also comes from him. I think we can agree on that. So with so much uncertainty, again, we don't need to get political specifically, but what are your expectations for the market in the coming months? Like, I mean, what are you telling your trader community about what you see happening? I mean, do you still think the bull market is going to continue on its usual pattern and ultimately new all-time highs this year? And do you also think that the market peak will happen as expected? Usually, people say 12 to 18 months after the bull market. Sorry, after the halving. So that would be like sort of between next month and the end of the year, or do you see it prolong into 2026 because strategic reserves, ETFs? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really great question. To be honest with you, I really believe that we still have a great opportunity to the upside. I think a lot of it, like I said, right now, just like every other market, like the politics and some of the other pieces just have their impact, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
fact is, there is still too much adoption right now and still too much demand, right? For Bitcoin, but also for the industry. At the end of the day, like even we're looking, if we look at traditional institutions, they are adopting this so quickly, right? There's a lot of them that are either building with it. It's almost like every few days we're hearing different ones that are really taking
Yeah.
advantage of the technology. And so it can't be stopped, right? I think we're just on a path where things are just growing so much that even let's say if Bitcoin was to, just putting it out there, let's say Bitcoin for whatever reason dropped to like 60K. Like I think there's just too much demand regardless for it to stay at some of those price points right now, right? There's just
Mm-hmm.
too much attraction, too much adoption. And right now on an institutional level, we're seeing millions of dollars pouring into the market, right? I
Billions
think it
even,
was
no?
yes, yes. Actually, I was looking at a project, and once again, not financial advice because I have to put that
Mm-hmm.
out there again. But even a project that, and for those that follow me, know I've been talking about this project quite a bit. But Ondo Finance, they actually just had their first inaugural summit that they did, and funny enough, Donald Trump Jr. was actually there. But what's really
Wow.
interesting, that project alone is really focused on helping a lot of institutional investors and organizations be able to get into the space, right? Providing them with digital assets for some of these traditional commodities and assets as well. But I think I was looking, they already reached like $1 billion in terms of total value locked, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
huge, right? And these are traditional organizations, hedge funds and so forth that are getting involved, working with them very closely, right? We have organizations like Visa, right, that also partnered. I think it was with MetaMask and some of these other large groups as well, that are really just helping a lot of money to flow into the market. And this is traditional, right? Traditional funds, right? So, as much as things like a lot of times people look at the crypto market from a consumer level, but a lot of times I always tell people to follow the money, follow the big money. What are a lot of the millionaires and billionaires and top um, people really doing with their money, and where is that money flowing? And at the end of the day, it's still flowing into the markets. And sometimes it takes time for that to be reflected when it comes to the price point of Bitcoin and some of these assets. But at the end of the day, don't be fooled. The money is still flowing in regardless.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And you didn't mention, sovereign wealth funds from the Middle East, where we really have no idea what they're doing, and there's a lot of rumblings about, the fact that several of them, probably UAE, Qatar, etc., are, and maybe Saudi even, the big one there, that they're all looking at Bitcoin and investing into Bitcoin, and that would be massive, of course. Um,
Yes. And sorry, just wanted to also add because as you were saying that, I was thinking like a few things came to mind as well. But what I thought was interesting is actually when we were at that same CBC event, we were hearing from one of the representatives from Aqua now that was there. But what was really interesting is while I was there, I got that notification that they actually just partnered with Emirates MBD,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Which is a Dubai-based bank, one of the largest ones there. So it's like same thing like you mentioned, the Middle East is a place that is fully adopting cryptocurrency on the highest level. But now, like to see that as well with one of the largest financial institutions looking to now provide access to those that are interested in actually trading cryptocurrency, like it's just showing you once again like a lot of these organizations are positioning themselves or currently making a lot of those partnerships to provide those offerings as well.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, bank announcements, you were saying earlier, every other day there seems to be some kind of institutional announcement. I think it's pretty much every day at this stage. And we're watching the news very clearly because Blockchain North shares some of those news. And really, we're looking at, what are the most significant news that are happening, usually internationally, and the banks. I mean, yeah, that's huge. It's banks all over the world, really, that are now adopting. And of course, the Trump effect is probably at play here, or almost certainly at play as well. Um, I want to ask you a little bit about your strategies for navigating the crypto market, but I actually think that maybe before we do that, maybe you should talk a little bit about consensus. We'll announce the giveaway at the end of the call, but I know you're going to have to drop off pretty much on the hour. So before we lose you, you are, as I said earlier, let me find your title. Basically, you're managing audience partnerships and special projects. Thank you, by the way, for inviting Blockchain North to be a media partner. Super excited. I mean, the largest industry event in North America is happening in Toronto next to our own largest event, Futurist. So it's going to be an epic week. What are we to expect? I mean, I've never been to Consensus. I'm sure many on the call haven't either. So now that it's in our hometown, I mean, what kind of an event is it? What are some of the highlights? Yeah, could you share a little bit with us?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I'm definitely really excited. So, for those that haven't attended Consensus before, it is one of the largest conferences for sure, crypto blockchain conferences in North America. It is hosted and led by CoinDesk, which is also a
Hmm.
very popular platform as well when it comes to media, news, and so forth within the industry. And what's so exciting is the past several years, the conference took place in Austin, Texas. Um, and this year, they actually shifted things a little bit. Number one, they decided to do a second event, which was in Hong Kong,
Hmm.
literally last month, actually. And then their flagship event, their North American focused event, is now going to be in Toronto this year, which I'm so pumped. And so this conference, one of the things that really stood out to me, what made it really unique for me when I first attended, is that they do a really good job getting a good mix of both Web 2 and Web 3 organizations that attend. So it's very different from your average event or crypto
Hmm.
conference where it's primarily crypto sponsored and partners, but this one does a great job of having a good mix of both. And so for this year, it being in Toronto, aiming for about 20,000 attendees, and
Wow.
of course, still focusing on blockchain, crypto, as well as AI this year, of course.
Hmm.
And so things are looking really, really great. I believe we launched some of our speakers already, which is really great. Of course, some of the speakers include like Kevin O'Leary, co-founder Sergey from like Chainlink, and some also local partners in Toronto, which I'm also excited about to see. See that representation on such a large scale from some of our local
Yeah.
communities and local partners like Wonderfy and so forth
Because it's
that
an
are going to be
international
attending.
event. Of obviously,
Exactly.
all these events are international, but it's happening here in Toronto. So you're saying there will be a Canadian flavor to the event.
100%. And that's what I'm really excited about. Like we're seeing Virgo, CX is there as well, and some other local brands among, these other large brands, Hedera, Polygon, Coinbase, some of these other large brands, and they're all coming to Toronto, right? So this is
Yeah.
exciting. This is a huge opportunity for our market to really just show people what Toronto has to offer. And yeah, it's gonna be really, really great. So the event is gonna be May 14th to the 16th.
Yeah.
It's going to be downtown at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. right close to like the CN Tower there, which is great. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
And of course, tons of side events, right? I mean, I know that last year Futurist, I think, had 60, like Futurist alone had 60 side events, and I've been told that this year expectations are that there might be more than 100. Do you know anything about side events, or is that still under wraps?
Yeah, honestly, it makes me a little bit nervous to be honest with you because even coming out of our Hong Kong event that we did, I think there was over 300 side events that took place
Oh
just
my
for
God.
that one. And that was our smaller conference. So looking at Toronto and this specific conference here as our flagship event, it's going to be very interesting to see how many events are going to be happening that week. I think everyone's gonna need to really just prepare for all the events that are happening, but it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be awesome. And yeah, I think it's a great opportunity just to see like what's gonna be happening in the city, how everyone can really take advantage of it, get the most out of it
Hmm.
from a networking point of view. With all those key players that are going to be in town and people visiting from international markets as well.
And briefly, ticket options right now, I think some of them are reduced, right? Prices are going up soon.
Yes, so great thing that you mentioned there. So in terms of the tickets, starts at about 700 for our Pro Pass, which is like our general admission. We do have other options as well for people that want more of a VIP experience. But the great thing is there are discount opportunities available. So I want to shout out to, of course, the Blockchain North team because I know you guys have your own discount code already. So for those that want to get 15% off, definitely take advantage of
So that's
that.
15% of the reduced price.
Yes, that's correct. Yep,
So 700, by the way, 700 was USD. I mean, it is an international conference, an American company. So 700 USD for the standard ticket and 15% off that then.
that is correct.
Right? So that's
Yes.
$100 basically. That's pretty good.
Yes,
That
that's
drops it
right.
to, okay, okay.
And then I'll of course also add for those that are interested in participating in, let's say, like the hackathon,
Mm.
anyone that applies gets approved gets a free ticket to the conference. So that is really awesome. There's a lot of people that are excited. We are positioning this as the largest on-site hackathon in North America, which is
Wow.
going to be really exciting, and we have some great partners joining us for that as well.
Well, that's awesome. Look, thanks again. We're gonna get back into our mini interview here, but yeah, shout out to you and Consensus. Very happy to, of course, have this major event in Toronto, and we Blockchain North are very excited to be a part of it. Thank you for the discount code. You can find it in our newsletter. You can find it in posts that we're doing roughly every 2-3 weeks, and also until the event, that is. And also stay tuned till the end of the call because speaking of tickets, we have a nice little surprise for you all on this call. We have a question actually from Digon Jababa, who's also one of our true crypto Canadian loyalists. So, Diganja, if I can call you like this, what is your question or comment? Nice to have you again. Diganja?
Were you referring to me? Sorry, I was coming through the matrix there.
Yeah, I only know one Diganja Baba. So, yes, you
I,
raised your
I
hand.
didn't even hear when you said my name. I just said question or comment because there's like a 15-second delay between speaker and listener.
Oh,
So when you're
really?
transitioning, you lose some time, bro. You lose some time in your life, bro.
Dude, I didn't
Anyways,
know that. Thanks for the tip. My God, that explains everything.
yeah. So
Tell
when
us.
people are reacting, when you're seeing reactions in the crowd, it's probably something you said like 10 seconds before.
Oh,
Um,
damn. Old news.
I know you don't have a lot of time
No,
with the
we don't.
featured guests, so I do want to say this quickly. The engineer and I, my brother, we're both part of Avalanche Team One. We're part of the Avalanche Ambassador Program,
Okay.
and we are organizing a really cool event to go along with Consensus, one of those side events. When everything is in place, we will definitely be posting the invitation, the Luma link here. But let's just put it this way: we've had to it's not a small thing. We've had to present it to Avalanche for approval. So if this goes through, it's going to be huge. So be on the lookout for it.
Well, very exciting. Look, we don't do a ton of promo here, but I appreciate it. I'm actually in touch with Avalanche's head of marketing to discuss collaboration with the Avalanche community. I might even go to the Avalabs event in London, which is in May. So it's interesting that you bring that up. Why don't you send me a DM and let's see if we can collab? Maybe we can also partner up and help you guys and be a part of that event. So Thanks a lot, and it's great that it's two of you loyalists. You guys are part of our crew, so I'm very, very excited about that. Let's get back with Ashley. Ashley, did you want to add something? I just saw you
Yeah,
unmute yourself.
I was also gonna say, feel free to reach out to me as well. Maybe there could be
Of
opportunities to
course.
collaborate.
Let's all collaborate. Let's all hold
Thank
hands.
you. I followed you. Thank you. I will message you both. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, final segment of this short interview. I want to ask you a little bit about kind of your best tips for navigating the market in 2025, which again, per our discussion, is, I guess, usual in some way. We're seeing similar patterns, the corrections, the new all-time highs, the volatility, etc. But it is also a bit different this year, right? I mean, I think we've mentioned it: the election of Trump, the level of adoption around the world, but perhaps also the pushback. I mean, I guess the kind of reaction, counter reaction. So, um, does that change anything in terms of how to navigate the market? And what are your, let's say, three absolute best tips that you share with everyone? Obviously, not financial advice.
Yeah, really great question. So best tips to navigate crypto this year. Um, I think the first piece, and I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, is diversification. To be honest with you, things are changing so quickly in the industry, even when it comes to just like trends. And so sometimes what happens is you, as an investor, right, you can see some cryptocurrencies in your portfolio that could take off faster than others, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, for someone that's investing that wants to be able to profit from the market, you want to make sure that you are covering your bases, right? And really looking at what are the key trends overall for the year, right? That have really been growing significantly, that a lot of organizations are also putting money towards, right? Following the
by
money once
trends you
again.
mean themes?
Themes,
Is that
correct.
another word, right? Like AI, like
Correct.
gaming,
So
like
like
RWA, like.
AI agents, RWAs, like you mentioned, like with Ondo as well, and some of these other projects that are really starting to take off significantly in a short period of time. And also
Mhm.
what's really important too, and why this is a key, is because yes, the market has dropped quite a bit, but once things do turn around and things start to go back to the upside, those projects that have still been growing significantly, especially during this dip here, those are the ones that are really going to accelerate their quite a bit, right? When things do start to go to the upside, and that's where we start to see some of those projects that tend to move a lot faster, right? So yeah,
Right. So first tip
diversification.
is diversification. Okay.
Yes, diversification is key. Number two, and I think this is for, especially for those that maybe are in the red quite a bit right now, or for those that
Okay.
maybe lost money right now, is really thinking about your exit strategy ahead of time,
What
right?
a great tip.
And so a lot of times where people lose a lot of money is because they get excited, their investments are going up, that's all they're looking at. And then when the market starts to dip, right, they don't have anything in place to protect their profits. And so this is where I always tell a lot of my clients or my students to look at having certain measures in place, such as having those automatic sell or buy limits in place that can automatically sell some of your crypto or all of your crypto, depending on what you're looking to do, at certain price points. And on the reverse side of things is also buying, right? Even as something like this where the prices drop significantly, for those that, let's say, wanted to buy Bitcoin when it was under $80,000, a lot of times the prices can move pretty quickly, right? It can drop significantly and then bounce right back up, and you can miss those price points. So, using those buy and sell limits helps you
Mm,
to get the best entry and exits, right? Where you don't have to be in front of your computer all the time, right? You can just have it in the background and it's all automatic, which is great. So, that would be my second point of things.
great one.
Um, and then the third thing I'll also mention, which I feel should be a given because it's probably one of the most important pieces when it comes to being in crypto, is the security side of things. Just doubling up, making sure that, if you're using, whether it's a cold wallet, hot wallet, whatever, right? Just making sure that you have all the information to keep your wallet secured, right? Of course, cold wallets, are, of course, are the best way to go. So, having yourself like a ledger, like a hardware wallet is definitely best. Um, but not only just having it, but making sure you have your private keys is so, so, so important. There's so many people that unfortunately don't remember their information, or because they have a set it and forget it mentality, they don't know where they put that information. So it's always good to have those touch points. Make sure that you know where all of that information is. So when you need it, it's there. Um,
Fantastic tip.
and then,
Yeah. A quick
mhm.
question. Oh yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead. You
No,
were
go for it.
on
Go
a
for it.
chain of thought. Well, I mean, I feel security is the single most important one, really, on the list. I mean, all great tips, but without security, what do you got? So, I'm wondering. For instance, let's just say that you have $10,000 in crypto. I mean, I don't know. That's all. Everyone's holdings are relative, of course, especially compared to Michael Saylor. But like, okay, so if you have $10,000 and you have it cold stored, or let's just say you have 10,000 in general, like, would you suggest maybe putting part on a cold storage, maybe part on another cold storage? Like, you never know, you could have an issue. I mean, we've seen some bugs with Ledger and issues like that. So would you say maybe have a ledger and then have, for example, a Trezor? Is that one tip? And the other one would be, and then maybe a little bit on your Coinbase or your Virgo or your, CoinSquare account or whatever it is, like spreading your crypto a bit, or does that then make things maybe a bit too complicated to manage?
Yeah. So I always say it depends on that person's individual approach, right? I typically tell my students not to leave, a lot of money on these crypto trading platforms, of course, for security purposes, but also depends if you're someone that's an active trader, right? It requires you, of course, to use certain platforms like that to trade, right? So it really depends on that person's strategy. It also depends on the how you're using your crypto in regards to accessibility, right? When you're using a hardware wallet, the way that I look at it, it's really keeping funds in there that you're not going to be touching anytime soon, right? And the time frame that I'm talking about is anywhere from, like, I would say 1 to even 3 or 5 years. Like, it's really long-term funds, right? Is how I like to use that approach. And then we have hot wallets, something like Exodus, which is definitely a favorite of mine, MetaMask, and some of these other hot wallets that are still decentralized. You are quote unquote your own bank, but they're more easily accessible in regards to you and your funds. And so these are platforms that are wallets that you can use. Think of it almost like I like to use the example of like a checking account in a sense where it's there, it's you have access to it if you need it. Um, but at the same time, like, you can use this a little bit more on a regular basis, right? So for those that, let's say, want to make profits, take funds out of the market from time to time, that's where those ones would be come into play. So in terms of how much money you have and where to keep that, it really just depends, number one, on how you're going to be using the funds, and then also how much time you're willing to put towards some of this,
Yeah,
right? Because like you mentioned,
that
you don't
one's
want to be in that
huge.
position having too many accounts, too
Exactly.
many
7
wallets.
passwords, and yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's a lot to manage, right? Especially if you're doing it all yourself. And so, you want to minimize that. So typically I tell people, like, if you have like one external, like whether it's a hardware wallet or hot wallet, and then of course if you have maybe one like crypto trading platform that you're using that helps you go from like your local currency to crypto, that at the very minimum is all you need. But also depends what you're comfortable with. So typically, and of course, this is just my approach and what I say, but I would say typically once you have, I say closer to like the 30K mark or even more, for sure you want to make sure you have those funds on a hardware wallet. And yes, diversifying is totally fine because at the end of the day, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, right? Um, and so and also you want to make sure that you have some funds that's accessible when you need it in case of emergencies too, right?
Okay.
So those are just some things to think about.
Fantastic. I mean, honestly, Ashley, first off, a big thank you because you've shared such, it seems effortless coming from you because you do this all the time. But, when you are on the receiving end, and I, the first, have learned a bunch today. So I'm sure people with us today as well. Really, yeah, you make it sound effortless, and you explain it in such practical, straightforward terms. That's a huge benefit, and that's what makes you a great educator. So a big thank you to you for that. If you need to drop off shortly, please don't hesitate. We have an announcement to make for next week's episode and a new series that we're launching. And right after, we'll do the giveaway. But I understand if you need to go, it's up to you. But again, a really big thank you and good luck with Consensus. Blockchain will be there to support, of course, and preparing lots of content and activations and things like that. Very excited about that. So yeah, thanks again very much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really want to say shout out to you and your team. You guys are doing so much great content. And you guys do such a great job with your brand. So yes, want to highlight you guys and give you guys your flowers as well, because all of this is made possible because of you guys as well. So yeah, really appreciate the work you're doing. And thanks for having me. I look forward to tuning into some of the future spaces as well, and
For
look
sure.
forward to connecting with everyone. So thank you.
Appreciate that. And I would answer to your point and your shout out. Thank you. And it's all of us together, really. I mean, everyone plays a part, and I'm very happy to be with my team a part of it. But again, thanks a lot. And if you need to step off, don't hesitate. I'm now going to queue up Gregory Sandstrom in just a moment. So Gregory is with Can You Blockchain, and we have just founded a new partnership with Can You Blockchain as well as with North Star DAO. Arun, by the way, if you can invite Can You Blockchain (CUB) to be a speaker, I'd appreciate it. So, new partnership, new series. We're going to do 3 episodes of Crypto Canadians called "Why Not Web3." This is going to be quite different than what we've done before. We're going to be taking a fresh approach, but I'm going to let Greg tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll wrap up with who's our speaker, our first speaker next week, because it's a pretty great one. Greg, over to you.
Oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, is it coming through, Flo?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's great to follow up, kicking off a new series. And in addition to that, we'd like to invite people to kind of help us get the topic going. So we're kicking off a fresh approach. We want to bring in experts and also curious people to break down some major societal challenges, but open the floor up through some conversation mapping. So that we can get more voices in to let us know what are these Web3 solutions. So we call it Why Not Web3, and each week, but it'll be through a series of weeks. We've chosen a different topic. So the first one is, broadly speaking, the economy, and so we'll be asking what are the sticking points. But we'd like people to come up and give their thoughts about the economy. It's so many different ways that blockchain and Web3 are impacting the economy, and to sort of map out the conversation, see what the main features are and the main aspects. And everyone comes from a different place and brings their focus, and that way that will improve the quality and engagement in the sessions. So it's a call to action, and builders, thinkers, innovators. We want to make bridges here. So thanks to Flow and Blockchain North for opening up sort of a new experiment here. And we're excited to invite others in. So jump in, bring your insights, and let's make it count.
Right. I'll just add a few things here. So first, very excited about this partnership with North Star DAO and Can You Blockchain. You just heard Greg. So the first episode will be next week. So that is March 20th. Why Not Web3, the economy, as Greg said. And our special guest will be Ben Bergen, who is the CEO of the Council of Canadian Innovators. So what's great about that is he's not a blockchain person. He's an innovation person, and he is an advocate, a lobbyist on behalf of Canadian industries to the government about the importance of investing in innovation. So, of course, blockchain will be a part of, and a big part in our case, of this conversation. But having him really tell us, about his work and about his priorities and how blockchain fits in all of that will be super, super valuable. It's basically a way for us to advocate as well to the government indirectly via Ben and the Canadian Council. Oh, sorry, the Council of Canadian Innovators. I always get this one wrong. So that's next week, Thursday, March 20th at noon Eastern Time, as usual. The next 2 following episodes, if ever you guys are looking at your calendar right now, will be on April 10th, where we will do a second episode, Why Not Web3, looking at the healthcare sector. Lots of opportunities as well for blockchain. So really a little different than what we've done before, and I couldn't be more excited about that. April 10th. And then the third episode will be on May 1st, and this one will be focused on energy and the environment. Again, these are big ticket, macro global issues that we'll be addressing, but we'll be really looking at the Canadian context. Greg, I think we'll also be producing some articles and some kind of reporting following these episodes. And Greg, I think you're also inviting people to join you for a conversation mapping session right after this. How do they get on?
Yeah, that's right. So we have an open source whiteboard that there's a template there now for a map, and the aim is for you all to fill it in. And I'm going to be the facilitator, but you're able to use the tools as well. So the link is in the comments section. Depending on when we finish. So whenever Blockchain North finishes, we'll open that up, and you'll be able to come. And if you don't want to use the tools and do some mapping yourself, then there'll be a discussion, and I'll be the operator and put in the ideas and the questions, the statements, and that'll give us a good basis for an engaging conversation next week.
That's great. And perhaps, let me just check if it's in the right post. Perhaps, Arun, you could check which post Greg is mentioning. I think it's not our latest one, not our pinned one. And you could pin it in this channel, the one with his comment, just so people know where to go. So if you could just pin that right now in the space. I think it's our third post or something like that. I think Diganja wants to jump in, please, very quickly, because I just have the results of the announcement for the giveaway to do, and then we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, sorry, really quickly. I did mention that the engineer and I are helping to organize an event for Consensus, but we recently had an event in February, and we are actually having another one this weekend. Is it cool if I post the link at the top?
Yeah. Not at the top of the space, because we're just posting Greg's link right now. But why don't you add it in the comments of our post? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's an AVAX event. There will be free food, free merch, and cool people to hang out with. I don't want to take up too much time, but check out the link.
Where is it?
Unfortunately, this one is in Orangeville. It's just a little bit of a drive if you're in the GTA, maybe like 30, 40 minutes. But for the most part, most of the events we're organizing are in the Toronto area.
No problem. When you said Orange, I thought you were going to say Orange County. That would have been a bit of a bigger drive. Thanks, Diganja.
A little bit more drive, yeah.
Appreciate
a little bigger drive.
All right, so folks, make sure to join Can You Blockchain's conversation mapping. I will be there as well, so I'll jump off right after this and join in for a little bit. It's quite short. I think we're going 20, 30 minutes, but we'd love to have your ideas so that we can really shape that conversation. At the end of the day, this is your call to action, an opportunity to really collaborate, to really contribute to this conversation. Let's not forget the context we're doing this in, an election year, of course, a trade war. I mean, there's really a lot at stake. And so I encourage you guys to join us. For Waz, I'd love to see you there. The engineer, Diganja, Dondara, Kate, Jerome, Jerry, Beardo. I mean, all of you, really, as many of you can join us. We'll keep it short, but it'll be super interactive and very interesting. All right, see you guys there soon. Again, I'll be there right after this call. Now, the announcement, and Arun is going to now change the pinned post. We are giving away 2 free tickets to Consensus. Now, this may be just kind of like casual if I say it like that, but we're talking about $1,000 Canadian